Attorney General Sally Yates' damning allegations that Trump shrugged off warnings that his pick for National Security Advisor lied to the FBI and could be blackmailed by Russia. Plus, former Secretary of State Condoleezza Rice joins the political view. How she'd handle North Korea, Russia, and our new president. Then, supermodel Ashley Graham on how she turned a lifetime of body issues into the new definition of beautiful and the blow-up over her Vogue cover. Let's go! Let's fire up Hot Topics with Whoopi, Sunny Hostin, Joy Behar, Sarah Haynes, and Jedediah Bila. Now, let's get things started.
Yesterday, former acting Attorney General Sally Yates gave some pretty damning testimony that the White House pick for National Security Advisor Michael Flynn lied to officials about his ties to Russia, and it put the U.S. in a potentially dangerous position. Now take a look.
We felt like it was critical that we get this information to the White House in part because the vice president was unknowingly making false statements to the public, and because we believed that General Flynn was compromised with respect to the Russians. We believed that the Russians knew this, but that they likely had proof of this information. And that created a compromise situation, a situation where the National Security Advisor essentially could be blackmailed by the Russians.
Now, speaking of blackmails, apparently, President Obama also warned the White House that Flynn could be a problem. So now, if 55 people are telling you there's a problem, why would you ignore all these red flags?
This concerned me a lot because I remember at the time seeing Mike Pence go out there and put himself on the line and say that Mike Flynn was not talking about sanctions with Russia on those phone calls. That turned out to be false. Now, he was given that false information and was out there jeopardizing his own reputation, his own credibility. And now I'm saying, if the White House top lawyer knew that that wasn't the case, and if President Trump knew that that wasn't the case, why did he put his vice president at the time out there to disseminate this false information and hence ruin his own credibility? I don't know. I really don't know, because it doesn't help him. I was trying to think of an angle where it would help him, but that's your right-hand man.
People in your cabinet like Paul Manafort and Carter Page and Rex Tillerson and Roger Stone that also have had connections with the Russians, and they maybe have had secret meetings. Then you certainly don't want to fire one person because it leads to a trickle-down effect, right? So everybody
he doesn't think he did anything wrong. In his own presser, he said that President Trump had said in the presser that he really didn't see anything wrong here. So,
but he's a pathological liar.
Yeah, but I also think
anything he says.
That might be the only thing he's ever told the truth about.
That actually sounded kind of truthful, honestly.
Really?
Do you think Trump thinks he did anything?
Well, he doesn't understand the law, I think. He doesn't. He has a fundamental misunderstanding of that. And what is surprising to me, and it shows that misunderstanding, is right before Sally Yates' testimony before the Senate Intelligence Committee, he tweets out a threat to her. You know, he witness tampers. He said something like, ask Sally Yates under oath if she knows how classified information got into the newspapers soon after she explained it to White House counsel, implying somehow that she leaked.
So that's how it happened, dude.
Yeah, so I think what's, crazy about that is you have a president who is witness tampering, who's threatening a witness.
Wait a minute.
That's
it gets
20
better.
years in prison.
So you have the outgoing president, who you know is not a fan of yours, doesn't have to tell you jack.
Yeah.
Doesn't have to tell you anything. Pulls your coattails and says, look, dude, you might not want to mess with it. I already been down this road, and this guy is not a good fit.
He also said that about Kim Jong-un. He warned him about the North Korea dictator he's your biggest problem. He was very nice
for
to
the betterment
Trump,
of the country, I think.
Well, I think that was
right?
what we know of Trump. That was his stubbornness, saying, well, if President Obama is trying to tell me this, then I'm just not going to listen. But in this case, what he was saying was, this is someone whose name has come up too many times when we're researching and investigating Russia's potential involvement in our election. This is not someone you want at the forefront. It was a valid point.
There's an interesting number. In Watergate, there was an 18-minute gap on the tape, and nobody really knew what the Rosemary Woods, Nixon's secretary, erased 18 minutes of the tape, which was an incriminating, remember that?
Yes.
Yeah.
And in this case, Sally Yates tells him, this guy is compromised, he's in bed with the Russians, and they keep him for 18 days. Yeah. I thought that was just an interesting...
And longer if you calculate when President Obama warned him.
Why didn't you play that number?
It's just on... I'm going to play that number.
My mom says that all the time. Play the number of the lottery. All the time.
My grandmother used to say that. That's your
I'm just going to put this out because gambling outside of specific places is illegal.
Yes.
So we are not condoning gambling.
No.
We're just saying, should there be a number near you? That's the one to look. No, you don't want to look for a bookie.
No.
Actually, but so you have this whole thing. You have this whole thing. Someone is saying, fire, fire, fire.
Yeah.
We're burning here, and they go, no, we're not.
Yeah. And I think what's also maddening is that he continues attending top-level security briefings. Right. He's attending a meeting with discussing Putin. Iran with Putin.
Conversations
He's back on the phone with Russia. He has the thing when they put Iran on notice.
I think Al Franken was Senator Franken was on the right path when he said, why would he do that? Which is, I think, where you're going. Why would he do that unless somehow he himself was compromised or other members of his
I can see that point, but it also tarnished his own credibility because your vice president, like I'm saying, is your right-hand man. So if he's out there saying something that's false, it makes him look bad, and
as long as he didn't know.
Yeah, well,
as long as he didn't listen.
My impression of Mike Pence is that he did not know.
In this administration, nobody knows where anybody knows. I just feel like, and that's what, and for me, that's what this kind of craziness does. It makes me suspect everybody.
That's true, but Mike Pence, I can tell you just from following him for years, he's not stupid, and he wouldn't go. He's not a dumb guy. He wouldn't go out there and say something that he knew would bite him in the
party following. When you follow your party line and not the people's lines, it makes you do things that you would not normally do.
And justify
and justify it. So again, I'm not accusing Mike Pence. I'm saying, for me, it puts it in my head, well, what did you know? Or did you know? Or what the hell? You know?
think Trump is scared right now? I think he's a little scared.
I don't know if he's scared. I still believe he thinks he's golden.
I don't know.
I think
where there's smoke, there's fire. Come on.
Looks like he's on defense.
I don't know.
He's on defense.
I mean, he's threatening a witness.
He even said something in the tweet. Go ahead, Whoopi. Sorry.
Thank you. We got to go. We'll be right back.
For model Ashley Graham on why all women need to subtract plus size from their vocabulary.
The world is a little freaky right now. It's, you know, one dictator's vowing to vaporize America with nukes. Another may have interfered in the elections. I mean, so it just is getting crazier by the second. But now to tell us how she'd have handled things, please welcome a fabulous woman in her own right, the former Secretary of State and author of the new book, Democracy, Condoleezza Rice. You know, we were talking about Sally Yates' testimony, and, you know, President Obama warned Trump about Michael Flynn. A whole lot of people warned about this man. How do you make somebody heed a warning that they may not want to hear?
Well, let me just say, I've been in Washington, and a lot of times people say, oh, I told him this, I told him that. I don't know what those conversations were really like, so I'm not going to go there.
Right.
I'm just going to tell you this. Michael Flynn is gone.
Yes.
And H.R. McMaster is as good as you can do for National Security Advisor. And so Americans ought to be comforted by the character of the person who's there. This is one of the most decorated and best generals of his generation.
Isn't he having trouble with Trump, though, right now?
Not that I can see. I actually think this is a really good national security team. Look, we have a different kind of president, all right? He's different. He'd never...
That's a great way to put it.
Yeah. Very diplomatic.
He had never been in government before. And when you haven't been in government before, sometimes it looks kind of easy in there until you get in there.
Yeah.
And when he said, you know, this job's a lot harder than I thought, I actually kind of felt bad for him, because it is a really hard job, and it's a lonely job, and you want people around you who you trust. So they've done well. Rex Tillerson is a really good Secretary of State, and Jim Mattis is a great Secretary of Defense, and they've got some really tough problems, as you were just saying at the beginning. You know, when you're dealing with a North Korean leader who is, let's just say, reckless. He might even be unhinged.
Yeah.
And he is getting better with nuclear weapons. He's getting longer in his ranges to perhaps one day reach the United States. I don't care who you are as president. That's a scary proposition.
You take it seriously.
You take it seriously.
Well, Madam Secretary, it's been alleged that weeks before President Trump's inauguration, Flynn discussed American sanctions against Russia, as well as other areas, perhaps, of possible cooperation with the Russian ambassador. As someone who has had that position as National Security Advisor, would you have felt comfortable at that time, before the inauguration, having those conversations, or is that inappropriate?
Well, let me make a distinction here, because when you are the National Security Advisor elect, in other words, your guy's been elected, but you've not yet been inaugurated, you will have conversations with foreigners. They want to meet you, they want to establish a relationship. The thing you shouldn't do is to talk about policy, suggest that you might be changing the policy of the administration, because there's only one president at a time. Until the new president is sworn in, the president who is there gets to make policy. So I don't know what Michael Flynn did or did not say. I'll just say that as a matter of principle, you can talk to anybody in that period, but you should never suggest that you might be making changes in policy and maybe they should just wait until there's a change in administration. I don't know whether he did or did not, but the principle is you wouldn't do that.
So you mentioned Rex Tillerson, and you're a big fan of his. I hear you now when I've read that. And he has the same job you had.
That's right.
Right. But the difference between him and you, I think, is that he has deep ties, business ties to Russia. And it seems as though we were talking this morning about all these people who are attached to Russia. I mean, what do you make of all that attachment to Russia?
Well, if you're an oil man, the Russians have what people call good geology, right? They've got a lot of oil. And if you're an oil CEO, of course, you're going to try to negotiate with Vladimir Putin to get rights to drill for that oil. That's what you're going to do. I think what you've seen, though, is that whatever Rex Tillerson's relationships may have been in Russia, he is acting on the basis of what the Russians are doing. He did something I'm not sure I would have had the nerve to do. He went to Moscow just before he's going to meet with Putin, and he says, well, the Russians were either incompetent or they were lying about the Syrian chemical weapons. I thought, wow, that's rough. I'm not sure I would have said that. So he's acting on our behalf.
I get that about him, but what about the rest of them? The rest of them didn't work for Exxon.
Well, just look at where relations are with the Russians. Again, I think we ought to be looking into what ties were there. That makes perfectly good sense. But I also want to say something about Vladimir Putin and interfering in our elections. He has been trying to interfere in our elections and everybody else's for a very long time. What cyber allows him to do is to do it more efficiently and more quickly. But let's not deceive ourselves that the Russians haven't tried these tricks before. They have. Now, I would have said, I would have said to the Russians, we know you did it, right? At a time of our choosing, we will find a way to punish that behavior. But Vladimir Putin is an eye for an eye kind of person. And we questioned, or Secretary Clinton questioned, the legitimacy of his election in 2012. Now he's saying, now I'm going to question the legitimacy of your election by hacking into it and so forth. So don't let him get the satisfaction of thinking that we don't believe our own elections to be legitimate.
So do you think that was a personal eye for an eye against Hillary Clinton?
I think it was personal. But he likes to intimidate. Now, I can tell you that I was with him on many occasions. And one particular occasion, we went into a room to discuss, and his people are sitting on one sofa, he and his foreign minister, I'm sitting on the other. And I'm delivering a message about U.S.-Russian relations, and they were messing around in Georgia at the time. And I said, you know, Mr. President, if you do anything in Georgia, President Bush wants you to know that that would greatly affect our relationship. And he stood up. And now he's peering over me. And so, just on instinct, I stood up too. Now, I'm 5 foot.
He didn't realize who he was peering over.
I'm 5'10" in heels. He's not.
He's short.
And so, what you can't do is be intimidated by Putin or let him play these psychological games.
But Madam Secretary, if he indeed did engage in these types of tactics in our election, then the very legitimacy of our election is at issue, isn't it?
No, no. And that's where I would, first of all, I don't want to question his motives beyond he's an eye for an eye kind of person. Secondly, I trust the people who voted in Wisconsin and Texas and Alabama and California to have voted on the basis of who they thought was best going to represent their interest. And so I'm not going to question the legitimacy of their vote because Vladimir Putin tried to interfere in the elections. That's just a step that I don't think we should take. Let's trust our fellow citizens to have been smart enough to vote for the people that they thought they ought to be voting for.
You referenced North Korea before, which is something that I think many people are very concerned that we're potentially headed to war. How do you feel about President Trump's approach to Kim Jong-un, saying he would be willing to sit down with him without preconditions? This is something that's been controversial that President Obama did with other countries. Does that concern you? I mean, complimenting him in some ways, does that demean our ability or diminish our ability to combat a tyrant potentially?
Well, it's not the language I would have used. Look, Kim Jong-un is smart. He wouldn't still be there if he weren't smart. And you don't get anywhere by underestimating the brain power of your adversary. So let's not assume that he's not smart. He is. But he's also extremely dangerous, reckless, and, as I said, maybe a little unhinged. So I think what they're trying to do is the only country in the world that maybe has some influence with the North Koreans, the Chinese. And so they're saying to the Chinese, all right, we know that you haven't so far been willing to put the screws to North Korea because you're worried that regime might collapse and then you'll have refugees and a long, unstable border. But let's tell you something. The worst outcome is you don't do anything about the North Koreans and then we have to. And no president can sit there and let the North Koreans get long-range missiles able to reach the United States. So
do you find it interesting that the relationship between China and the new guy?
Just won't say his name.
I won't. Needs to be a little clearer for the American people because there's been a lot of conversations about, you know, getting your, what was it, his, oh my God, see, I had, the brain is gone. When he was getting his, he was able to get his patent.
Oh, the trademarks.
And, and all of these things that came tumbling into the new guy's lap once he became president. Shouldn't he kind of clear up that he's representing, as our president, he's not representing his corporation, but representing us and our needs?
Oh, absolutely. It should be absolutely clear, and he should do everything that he can to make that absolutely clear. This is new. We've never had somebody who's never been in government. We've never had somebody who came directly out of the business community into the government. And so we're making new waves here, new policy and new directions.
He made me love George Bush, I'll tell you that.
Joy, I've been here with you a couple times. I never thought I'd hear you say that.
I never thought I'd say it.
So wait a minute. Yeah, hell just froze over. Our thanks to Condoleezza Rice. Her book is called Democracy. And members of our audience, you're all going home with a copy. Check it out. We'll be right back.
vendors for at least half off some of our favorite Shark Tank products.
But the deal expires tonight, so get to viewyourdeal.com and order now.
Are you in?
So last night, Jimmy Kimmel returned to his show for the first time since his emotional announcement about his newborn's health crisis. And once again, he put things into perspective. Take a look.
I saved health insurance in the United States of America. Thank you. I didn't save it? They voted against it anyway? I really need to pay more attention to the news. I know this is going to shock you. There were also some not-so-nice things that people said online about me, including members of the media. And I would like to apologize for saying that children in America should have health care. It was insensitive. It was offensive, and I hope you can find it in your heart to forgive me.
I love Jimmy Kimmel.
You know, when things are laid out that plain, I mean, how can there really be another side to that argument?
The comedians are leading the charge. I mean, everybody gets in trouble now for things that we're saying because we're saying things that make sense. And Jimmy, because he's had such a personal story to tell from a comedian and makes it funny, is just remarkable. I think he's incredible. I just love him today.
With that personal story, and I started thinking about, you know, we've had people come on the show and say, well, that's not my job. My job is just to make people laugh. I don't want to talk politically. I don't want to get involved. But this goes to show you when you have that kind of platform and you do get involved, you can really make a difference.
It's not for everyone.
Yeah.
Yes.
It became very personal for him with his son.
Which is hard to do. It's hard to put your life out there. I think it brings up an important point, which is that when you say, is there another side to this argument? I think there are a lot of people on both sides of the aisle would agree and want children to have coverage, want people to have coverage, want people with pre-existing conditions to have coverage. I think there are caring people on all sides. I think the question is how to pay for it. And I think it's a real question and a hard question.
Well, he said how to do it.
The problem is
he was talking to that congressman, and the congressman asked that exact thing that you just said.
Right.
And he said, well, stop giving tax breaks to the very wealthy, and maybe you can pay for it.
But that won't cover all the costs. Unfortunately. And the issue that happens for me is every time I get into one of these and I say, well, maybe this is the solution, I realize, wait, I just raised this person's cost by lowering this person's cost.
How about getting all kinds of people in a room to discuss it?
Well,
because there are enough. Look, this isn't about the party. You know, this is my thing. It ain't about the party. It's about the people.
That's right.
And if you're fudging the people over.
Sounds delicious, Whoopi.
You know?
Yeah.
That's not to say there aren't things in what they call Obamacare that can be taken out and revamped. But what you can't do is slash and burn everything just because it had Obama's name on it, because as we know, originally it was Kennedy care.
Well, and maybe take it out of a profit business. Like maybe insurance companies, it shouldn't be put in insurance companies that are looking for profit. Because you think about how the money goes to the top of the company, that's taking out some of what we're paying in. So if you had someone that controlled it that wasn't taking profit.
Or a not-for-profit option. Who said that on the show?
Kirsten
Senator
Gillibrand said that yesterday.
You know, or give me the money if I did really well this year and I didn't get sick and I paid all that insurance. Give me my money back so that I can take care of my kid if my kid gets sick.
Why is it that every other country seems to be able to pay for it? Countries that are not as rich as we are.
Well, we want to pay for it, and we want our quality of care to be good. We want our doctors to be incentivized, and we want the whole picture.
Because we gotta go. Apparently, if your husband doesn't like your friends, you are twice as likely to split up, according to a study that tracked 400 couples over 16 years. Wow. Does this concern anyone at the table right now?
Busy, aren't they? 16 years study. Wow.
Well, they didn't have anything else to do.
Goodness. Wow.
Okay, that went a long way.
Sonny has an example.
So the husband, let's just be clear. Yeah. So if you
don't like your old man's friends,
nothing happens.
It doesn't matter.
But if he doesn't like your friends, that will lead to a divorce.
Yes.
So why?
I think because women share a lot with their friends, and then the husband, that's what the study said, and the husband then feels like there's an interference in the marriage and blames it on the friendship.
And so
there's a problem.
Initiates the divorce.
Yes. But I have to tell you, I'm very lucky because my husband has befriended my very good girlfriends.
Yeah, mine too.
And that's very comforting. But there have been friends he has that I don't like.
What happened?
Nothing. I'm still there. It's been like 20 years. You know, I just don't think it matters as much because I really think you can only control your behavior. You can't control who.
Look
right?
at you.
I'm learning. You've taught me that. I can only control my behavior, and so if he wants to go out with them, you know, fine, and then maybe I just won't go. I'll say, oh, I'll take a pass. You guys,
better.
Yeah.
You know, but it doesn't. It has not mattered.
Yeah.
It has not mattered.
It only matters, I feel like, if that friend is somehow rude to you or like comes at you constantly and say your husband defends you and says,
if your husband doesn't see that that's happening, there's an issue.
That would be a problem.
Or if something is said to that person and then they apologize, that's different. But if they keep doing it, if there's a pattern of behavior that's bad to you, then I think it's intolerable.
That's a problem.
Yeah.
But even if they apologize, it's like, why are you coming at me anyway?
Right.
Yeah.
That's right.
You don't like me? Talk to whoever I'm with, your friend. Talk to your friend.
It's always an old friend. The people that offend you, because they tend to have these historical ties.
Right.
And even if socially, you're like, why are you friends with that person? It's always the old ones.
It's always the men. They've been friends since kindergarten. What are you going to do?
Damn friend.
So they're jealous?
I think so.
No, it's because you would never befriend them as an adult because they have these things.
Yeah.
You can't get rid of them.
You can't get rid of them. Leave them alone, honey. They like lice.
Yeah.
We'll be right back.
Hey guys, Ashley Graham here, and I'm going to be telling women why every size is sexy and beauty is beyond size. Check it out right here. Coming up next.
So after a breakup, can you know,
enjoy a good hit and run? I believe you can.
It may not be a good idea, but it's always good. You know what I mean?
What about right before you're dumping them? Bye-bye.
Enjoy. It's The View on ABC. Supermodel Ashley Graham is redefining what it means to be beautiful, posing on the covers of the hottest fashion magazines and the iconic Sports Illustrated swimsuit issue. She recently walked the runway of New York Fashion Week and killed it at the Met Ball. Please welcome the author of a new model, What Confidence, Beauty, and Power Really Look Like, Ashley Graham.
Ladies.
Hello.
Everybody's in like nice bright colors.
Yes.
This is perfect.
I liked your jam on the way out, by the way.
Yeah.
But you're known for your sex appeal and inspire your 4 million Instagram followers. Were you always this confident?
No, that's why I had to write about it. Look, my mother had raised a confident woman, but I was put into an industry that made me very unconfident. And I talk about being a model in the actual fashion industry and how it makes you feel even uglier. And because you're being picked apart, manipulated, and controlled by others who don't understand your body. And there's also been this stereotype of what perfection is for so long that I just had to come and say, well, this is my cellulite, this is my back fat, and none of it's going to change.
And you know we all have it. So.
Yeah.
You also have come down on the term, which I fully agree with you, the whole term plus size.
Yeah, isn't it just so ridiculous?
It doesn't, it actually, I feel like plus size includes the average woman. Like the size is really...
No, okay, so the average size American woman is a 14. And so that means that the majority of this room is considered plus size. And I don't feel that we need to put a category on women because of a number inside of their pants. I just don't think that it's fair. We don't do it to men. So I'm just trying to get rid of it.
Yeah, I like it. Banning it.
Well, from one curvy girl to another. What I thought was interesting is that you posted, right? Little curvy.
You let us know where they were, Sonny, just in case we missed it.
Let me take mine up just so I say, you know, here's mine right here. Hey, just put it back.
A little curvy. But you posted a picture that showed cellulite. You see that?
I have
and
those
I mean,
dimples.
how were you able to do that? Because we all have it.
We do.
But most of us are not willing to show it.
I had no idea the revolution that cellulite photo was going to be. Because you look at your own cellulite every day, right?
Yeah,
and it's just like, it's
do.
there, whatever. And one of the things I talk about, every single chapter of my book starts with affirmations. So I've talked to that cellulite many a day. And I've said, cellulite, you're there, and I'm going to choose to love you today. So I took the photo. I was in the Philippines with my hosting Miss Universe, and I was like, I was sitting cross-legged, and then of course it just gets all jammed together, even tighter.
It does that.
And you're like, okay, hi, Cellulite City. And I just kind of went like this because I was going to do a full body, and it was just the cellulite, and I was like, I'm just going to post it. Who cares?
Wow.
Next thing you know, everybody's like, oh my God, cellulite!
Yeah.
We all have it. And you mentioned that the average size of a woman is a 14. You're a 14.
I'm a full-size 14.
You're a full-size 14. Now, some critics are saying that you are promoting an unhealthy lifestyle. They want you to lose weight. But then you have other people saying, how dare you try to claim to be a plus-size woman because you're too small.
Right. So
I win.
You know, you can't win, and you never will be able to win. And I always say, like, I'm just such a great model. I know my angles, and I can look 20 pounds heavier, 20 pounds lighter, and it just is what it is in a photo. So you're never going to make anybody happy. It's just, it just is what it is. So just be happy with yourself.
Just be happy.
Well, one cover, you look amazing, was the Vogue diversity issue in March.
Yes.
Which there was a lot of talk. You were there with Kendall Jenner, Gigi Hadid. But the talk of that was that your hand...
There's some other girls in the photo.
There are plus and company.
Yes.
Amazing.
Yes,
but you have your hand in a certain way, and a lot of people talked about that. Yours was on your thigh versus on your hip. And then there was like, Gigi's hand goes really long. It looks like it's long. What's the talk about?
So I actually saw the or like it wasn't even really retouched at all. So it's like, okay, well, there's like the first thing, like go out, you know, take it out of the garbage. It's like, okay, it's not retouched. Second of all, Luann and Kendall both had their arms up, and I didn't want to look like them, so I put my hand down, and I was like,
that was it?
Because I wanted to be me, so I just put it down. Yeah, and that's it. And then people just had a thing. So the thing is, I'm amazed that I was even on the cover of Vogue. I mean, I'm the first curvy girl to ever, that Anna Wintour approved to be on the cover of Vogue. So can we talk about that?
That's amazing.
Right?
And you guys all look beautiful.
Thank you. I was like, thank you, Anna.
Yeah. Well, you write in the book about having the body of a 25-year-old woman as a young teen. I can so relate to that.
Can you?
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
All this.
Oh, I was carrying this when I was about 13.
Yes.
And it's difficult. The way men react to you, older men. And you spent years looking for validation for those curves from men. Now, it was astonishing. One boyfriend broke up with you because he thought you were going to become too fat.
Yep.
And another one was emotionally and physically abusive to you.
Yes.
How did you get out of that cycle?
So, you know, it all kind of stems from not really having the relationship at home with my father that I should have, I think. And I talk very candidly about that in the book. And I never knew what a relationship with a man was supposed to be. So, of course, I'm insecure for my body. And I go out and I start looking for affirmations in all the wrong places. And men happen to be a very easy one, along with food. And I talk about that as well. And I think that women, I share the story because young girls and women need to know that you are not going to get love from sex. You are not going to get love from going and just saying, oh, like my body. If you don't love the woman that you're looking at in front of the mirror, no man is going to be able to love you. And that's why I was in an abusive relationship, because I didn't love who I was. And I had to get out of that. And it was a very dark place in my life. But after that terrible boyfriend, I said, well, screw this. I'm not having sex till I'm married.
And you did.
I did it. And you did. I did it. And I write about that in the book, too.
Yes, you did. Now, I also carried a great deal of body as a kid, but I was so odd-looking, people didn't respond to me sexually. They responded to me for humor.
Really?
Yes, and I didn't know I was funny at the time because they were laughing at, not with.
Right.
So, but you met your husband 6 years ago, Justin, at church, and decided not to have sex until you were married.
I heard that.
Oh, yes. Did I mention he's black?
Yes. He's fine, right?
Yeah.
Did somebody say?
Did you? That came from the whole side. Was like,
Yeah.
I know.
And he loves your curves.
He loves my, you know, I'm the curviest girl he's ever dated, and he said he can never go back.
Wow. Yes, but neither can you. That's right. It's a two-way street. You're not going back. He's not going back, and life stays well.
That works out well. So a big thank you to Ashley Graham. Her new book, A New Model, is out now, and everyone in our audience is going home with a copy. We'll be right back.
Tomorrow, Mayim Bialik has a sneak peek at the Big Bang Theory season finale and showing girls how to be strong, smart, and spectacular. And remember these three sisters who made it to the Junior Olympics while they were homeless? You won't believe the updates since they've been on our show.
Hey, Alex, you're my daughter. It's your birthday. Happy birthday. We want everybody who's watching us to have a great day. We want everybody who is here to have a great day. We want you all to take a little time to enjoy what?